Sales is a male-dominated space. You are a successful woman in sales who is ambitious and has something to say. You should start posting. The people that you want to surround yourself with are the people who celebrate your successes and the people who lift you up as well. There's that key point of just starting. And actually, you want to get those, I call it the duff pancake. Like when you make pancakes, the first one's always a duff one. It's the same with content creation. You're going to start and it's going to be pretty terrible. And then slowly but surely, you're going to see what lands. Your first cold call is going to be the duff pancake. Your first role play is going to be the first duff pancake. Your first deal is. But it's fine. Get it out the way. And then it's the only way is up from there.
You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes. And welcome to this episode of the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined again by Nia Woodhouse, who is SDR manager at My Sales Coach. So yeah, second time, Nia, but new job.
I know. An honour as always to be back. New job, new year, new topic of conversation. I'm well excited, Fred.
No, so am I, because this topic's actually quite close to my heart. You've been successful using social media. Yeah, and it's been a journey. You've grown. You're confident in it now, or appear to be. And that's something that I want to explore. And when I say it's close to my heart, as you know, my wife's just written a book. And when she launched it, she was really nervous about this, really nervous about the response she'd get and how people react and all this kind of thing. And it's pushed her right out of her comfort zone. And I think as I was trying to help her and encourage her with this, you were posting something pretty much the same about, hey, it hasn't always been like this. It's just like it's on the same day, I think. Even I thought, right, we need to get this recorded because I reckon there's lots of other people in a similar position. So yeah, so tell us, when you first started on the whole social media journey, what was going on? Why were you doing it, and how were you?
So I've been very fortunate to be led by sales leaders who really care about my career. And in my first sales role, I saw my leaders posting consistently every single day without fail on LinkedIn. And I saw how their networks grew and grew and the amount of inbound opportunities they were getting off the back of it. And I had this imposter syndrome, huge imposter syndrome of, what have I got to say? I've got barely any experience in this world. What will my friends say? Like, will they laugh at me for posting on LinkedIn? Like, is it a bit cringe? I had my boss saying, Nia, you should absolutely do this. Like, sales is a male-dominated space. You are a successful woman in sales who is ambitious and has something to say. You should start posting. And if my boss suggested something, best believe I would try it out. Like, I'm just that sort of person, because I knew that he was only going to say it to help me to be successful. But I still lack that confidence massively. I was like, oh, I just don't know what to post. And if it did, I'd be like, who's going to actually read it? It's probably going to get 2 likes. So everything that I did at the beginning was very few and far between. But if there was sort of a trend going on, I would hop on it. I would try and get my colleagues involved. But I didn't quite realise how unnatural that was for me in terms of the content that I was posting and how I was appearing online until now when I look back at those. And I think that's the post that you're referencing. My current boss was deep in the dark depths of LinkedIn a few months ago and found a video that I posted. And I was so timid. I was quiet as a mouse. I was talking like this. I'm Nia Woodhouse. And I was like, I don't even recognize that person because I'm so outspoken and confident now. But at the time, I probably thought that I was really confident then. So God knows what it'll be in 10 years' time when I'm looking back at these videos. But it's that self-reflection. You don't actually realize how unnatural it is until you look back on it.
Oh wow, you give me so much there. You pretty much all the questions for the rest of the podcast have come out of that. I mean, first thing you've covered, why do it? I mean, yes, this is a Sales Today podcast, so salespeople listening to it, inbound. I'm going to do a piece of work which is going to live forever, and people are going to come to me off the back of it. Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
well,
that was
hopefully you say no. Happens. Fact.
Yeah, that was absolutely the initial motivation. And then when I started really understanding the value of social selling, it went beyond that because you can build a brand and an internal brand with your company, which opens the doors for opportunities for collaboration, for new projects, but also an external personal brand where people associate your image with a company. And that is so powerful. If somebody says my sales coach, they might sometimes think of me because of the amount of content that I put on. And that's something that I never even possibly imagined could happen. And that is the power of a personal brand.
Yeah. Oh, I'm loving the idea of internal and external, particularly people in bigger companies, um, which are often kind of a bit weird and they don't like people doing this. But that's another argument. But certainly, yeah, the inbound piece and the social selling piece. You said something about imposter syndrome, but then link that to the what are my friends gonna say? Yeah, talk to me a little bit about that. What was going on in your mind, and what did your friends say?
So I am blessed with amazing friends. Like they are like family to me. Um, but I feel like everybody's got a bit of an ego. And I think all of my colleagues who post on social media can relate that they get a bit of stick for it. Like, oh, you're going to make a little LinkedIn post about this. And it's not until you start having partnerships with other brands and they see it, or actually sometimes you get viral videos that they're like, actually, that's a little bit cool. But they know as well that this is my personality. Like I have a joke with them and be like, I was made to be an influencer. And they're like, oh my God, you're so right. So back in the day, I was probably being a bit too cool for school. And actually, I'm just that sort of person who really doesn't care what the people think, especially when it's your friends as well, because they're there to lift you up. So you got to take a bit of stick. You've got to take that you're going to be the center of a few jokes and just be like, I'm absolutely going to be making a LinkedIn post about this.
Well, I mean, sounds like you got some cracking friends. I've got brilliant friends as well, but they aren't always helpful, you know.
Mhm.
Even people that you're very close to, brilliant relationships. There's this, and I've studied this stuff. There's this human, I don't know, response to stuff, like the crabs in the barrel when the crab's climbing up and they want to pull people back down. Where naturally we're genetically or kind of evolutionary programmed to not want people to do too well because it's survival of the fittest and we want people fitter than us. And I mean, I'm probably explaining all this stuff really badly, but what can be a bit of a joke, and sometimes it genuinely is, it's people just say, "Oh no, hang on a little bit. You're rising above and away from me." And I don't like it. Now they wouldn't say that, and it wouldn't probably be a conscious thing, but it's stuff that goes on. So I think if
It's
people are going to do
interesting.
this, you need to be ready for that reaction.
Absolutely. And I'm sure it does. And I feel like that's something to be aware of. The people that you want to surround yourself with are the people who celebrate your successes and the people who lift you up as well. And that is goes from colleagues to your friends outside of work as well. And I think it's telling as well when you have success in your career, whether that's directly related to a promotion or achieving a goal, to sort of something that's a little bit out of the box. How do your friends and family react? And it's the ones who are celebrating and cheering you on and the people who you want to keep around you.
Yeah, it's beware. I remember the guy that I was talking to, the coach. I got this from a coach actually, and he was telling me about, the easy way to see this is like if you're doing exercise or going on a diet or something. He used diet as an example, which is quite good. So I'm going to go on a diet, and your mates go, "Yeah, I'm going to join you," and then they don't. Yeah, but you go and do your own thing, and you crack on, and you say, "Oh, you're looking really good." And you go, "Yeah, thank you. Okay, cool, cool, cool." But then after a bit, they'll be like, "Oh, I think you're losing a bit too much weight. Oh no, I think you're taking this a bit too far. Well, come on, just have a little piece of cake. I'll forget the diet for today." And then they're not being helpful because actually they're getting a little bit kind of jealous and pulling you back. So I guess in the social media thing, it'd be like, oh, and I think that last post, I think you might have made yourself look a little bit like, well, no, forget it. So you do have to be aware of it. I just wanted to kind of flag that up that if somebody's
It's a
listening to
really
this,
interesting concept.
yeah, we need to be aware. But if you're surrounded by the right people who totally get it and are successful anyway, and they go, yeah, I know what you're doing, and it's brilliant, crack on, more of that,
Exactly.
you'll be in a good place. Um, so yeah, it's just worth. I don't want to get big down on it, but people can be a bit bloody odd.
No, I appreciate it. And it's good for people to be aware of because they can check their tribe.
So you talked about this video that somebody dug out, your very first one. Bit unfair, really, but of course, revenge is a dish best served cold. I expect he's got it coming. But he said, "Oh, you've looked at it and you're a bit timid, and compared to now, chalk and cheese, and you're so much better at it." So, would it be fair to say then that just by doing this and practicing it and getting on with it and understanding it and getting feedback from what works, what doesn't, you have got better at doing it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's that key point of just starting. And actually, you want to get those, I call it the duff pancake. Like when you make pancakes, the first one's always a duff one. It's the same with content creation. You're going to start and it's going to be pretty terrible. And then slowly but surely, you're going to see what lands. You're going to see what does better in terms of impressions and engagement. And then you can look back and you can replicate that and you can make small improvements. But I think a pivotal moment in my content creation was when I started posting the sort of content that I like to consume. And this is what I love about LinkedIn at the minute. When I first started, it was very corporate. It was like there were rules around what you could and couldn't post. And I was nervous about that. I was like, oh, I don't want to step out of line. And that definitely held me back. Whereas now, I look at I'm one of those who will scroll on TikTok and the stuff that I enjoy consuming, I'm like, why can we not make that relevant to business? Because if people like consuming that personally, they're going to like consuming that professionally a lot more than your sort of really strict corporate post that people never even read to the end of. And that's what's served with this sort of progression for me as well. It's so much more authentic.
It's still the same human brain inside that skull, isn't it? Whether
Exactly.
you're personal, professional, you might have a nice shirt and cufflinks and a tie and all that sort of stuff. But your brain is still going, yeah, but I like funny stuff. I like things that make
Exactly.
me smile. I like things which help me do what I do better. And
Exactly.
big, boring stuff with long words and all that. Um, um, I love the duff pancake thing, by the way. Isn't there? I'm not an expert cook, but isn't there a thing? The first pancake is always going to be duff anyway, but you need to make it because it does something to do with coating the pan to make all the rest better, or I don't know.
Honestly, I have no
No
idea about
idea.
the science. I'm not a cook. I know that it's always bad. And I use that analogy in everything to do with sales. Your first cold call is going to be the duff pancake. Your first role play is going to be the first duff pancake. Your first deal is, but it's fine. Get it out the way. And then it's only the only way is up from there.
I'm looking this up as soon as we finish recording because I think it is going to be bad, but it has to be, but it does its job to put some coating on the pan or something or other. There we go. Hey, all right, there we go. Action point. Action point number one from the podcast. I love it. Um, so okay, so you started to then talk about a little bit about how you go about doing this. So confidence has built. It's like kind of just do it because I could see the benefits of doing it. So I made myself and I started to get some of those, and it made sense to try and do it better. And of course, I got better through practice. You've also talked a little bit there about your process. So you kind of what does the audience care about, and kind of how can I tap into that? So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So when you're thinking about what content to produce, you need to think about what you're selling and why your customers buy from you. And they buy from you because they're facing challenges that your product or solution can solve, or there's an opportunity for them to gain something from it. And in your wife's case with her book, that is joy. So from that, we need to reverse engineer it. So what are those challenges? and what are those opportunities? And then let's make content based on those things. And you can choose one of those and create 50 pieces of content around that one thing. And it can be advice, it can be opinions, it can be stories. My advice is to go with an opinion, because that's what goes further than your network. If you have an opinion on something, that reaches beyond your network. And actually that was something that I struggled with the most. And because I was worried about backlash of having opinions that people were going to disagree with. And you can imagine a 21-year-old straight out of uni, be it having a few months in sales, sharing opinions. They're not going to want people who are 30 years in the industry at VP level disagreeing with them, because I can remember that happening, and honestly my heart just falling out of me because I was like embarrassed, feeling that I was wrong. But actually, how can your opinion be wrong if it's backed by your personal experience and what you're trying to achieve? It's not wrong. And I'm sure that it's going to resonate with other people. So at that time, there were tons of other 21-year-olds who had just joined the world of sales who are probably experiencing the same things, but maybe might not have had the confidence to post about it or to disagree with somebody who was at a completely different stage in their career to them.
I love that. I love that. And as you were talking, my brain was going, yeah, I can see why opinions work so well, because people will disagree. I think that's the point. If
Exactly.
they don't, it's probably not strong enough. It's a bit vanilla, and then some people take it so far, don't they, to try to polarize deliberately. And you think, I don't know if you really think that, or are you just trying to trigger a reaction? But your opinion is,
Maybe.
it's going to be, some people might not agree with it. Great. And once you get used to this, and again, it's a practice thing, isn't it? That you can take the disagreement and you can spin that into something. Now, either outrage or just somebody didn't. And okay, I learned a little bit because they presented a valid point. So yeah, I like that. And the other thing that I was thinking there is that AI doesn't have opinions, does it?
No, it's
Humans
just,
do.
yeah, exactly. That sets you
So this
apart.
is about being really human. It's near who's saying this and what I think.
Mhm.
And so put that piece of content next to somebody who said, "Oh, I asked ChatGPT to create me a list of 10 best things to do in cold
You
calling."
smell it from a
Okay,
mile.
the list will be okay. It won't be very interesting because it'll be
Mhm.
the same list that another 20 people who've done the same thing have posted that day. Your
Exactly.
opinion, pretty unique.
Exactly.
Ah, like that. You did also talk about a couple of other things that you share. So advice. So you do share advice sometimes.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
think that's what I'm
Again,
most
about
comfortable with.
the job, to the people you're talking to.
Mhm.
Yeah. And stories. I'm more interested in understanding about stories and what your opinion on stories.
Yeah, so I think advice was where I was most comfortable, because I felt like it wasn't gonna like spark too much controversy. It was just like, this is
Mm.
what's working for me, this is what I advise you to do. And that does well for your immediate network. Stories, however, help you to really relate to your customers and potential prospects, because you can share how either something in your world that's similar to what's going on in theirs, how that was a challenge and how you overcame it, or a customer that you've helped in terms of a story, and then they can resonate with it that way. It's a really great way of basically selling your product without being like, roll up,
Oh, you've
buy
got to do one
my
of those.
book, go and buy my product or service.
Oh,
Yeah,
please do one of
exactly.
those.
Can you imagine? So, and it's so great because that can come in any format. It can come in text, image, video, and it's a really easy way of thinking about content as well. If you're like, oh, I had a customer conversation yesterday and they mentioned this, tell that story. People resonate with problems and hearing about stories that are similar to their world.
Yeah, we used to call these case studies. And as soon as you say that word, salespeople just go, "Oh no, don't ask me to write a case study." Normally, because marketing keep coming back to them saying, "Can you just get a little bit more information? Or can you just go and ask the customer for this?" And it just wastes a ton of time. I reframe them as success stories and say that actually they're very, very easy to write. They've got four parts to them. You just go, what's the name of the company that you're working with? Or if you can't, the industry. what was the challenge that they had, go heavy on that and try to poke at some of the emotion that the people were feeling because of the challenge. What was your solution? Shortest bit, as short as you possibly can, and then what were the results? If you can put a
Mhm.
metric in it, or if you can put a quote, what people actually said, again, that's interesting. When marketing get hold of it, they'll tend to make the solution bit the biggest, squeezing out all the other bits, which are what the the listener is more interested in, because that's the bit which is like them, puts them as the hero, doesn't it? Puts them as the thing. So actually, they're pretty easy to do. So
Exactly.
yeah,
And that's what sets you apart from marketing as well. But this is marketing. This is marketing. And I have absolutely embraced the fact that I work at a startup and can work so closely with the marketing team. And I'm lucky to work around amongst really talented individuals who are super successful in storytelling, in creating personal brands and sharing content. And learning from them has helped me massively, but also it's a two-way, because when marketing understands the voice of the customer, then their content and their strategy is just so much stronger.
yeah, no, I didn't mean, no, I did mean to be that cruel to marketing. There's opinion. Opinions work. I just learned.
It's an age-old war.
It is. It's an opinion. It's quite easy to share and do like that. But no, when you're telling stories, and the human brain is designed to hear stories, isn't it?
Mhm.
And because we talk to heart as much as head, so people can resonate with that. Um, cool. I love this. Let's go back to the beginning though, and the confidence piece, and then really, if you can put yourself back there and what you did to just do it. I mean, you said, look, I just did it, but there must have been other stuff going on. That's easy advice for someone like me, like you, who do this stuff regularly to do. Always kind of forget what it was like back then.
Yeah.
That confidence at that time, like Donna, like my wife is at the moment. What can we say to her to say, okay, go and do, but here are things to help you with it.
Yeah. And that you're right, it is difficult, especially looking back, because it grows with practice. And I think if you're overconfident at the start, then what you're producing is probably going to be a little bit rubbish. But in terms of getting started, there's a few things that you can do. It's looking to the future and understanding exactly what this can bring for you, and understanding that, I hate to be a cliche, but I say this to the team, you've got to climb the mountain to enjoy the view. You've got to have those duff pancakes. So first of all, think about what content you enjoy consuming and understand how that makes you feel, or how that impacts on your life when you see advice or an opinion that helps you to achieve something that you wouldn't have otherwise done. And then imagine yourself doing the exact same thing, but with your product or your service. I would also consider finding somebody who has been successful on that journey as well, somebody who can help you understand where to start, because it's difficult just saying just crack on. I was fortunate enough to have people around me who'd already been successful doing what I wanted to do, and then later down the line got a social selling coach who helped me to really work on strategy and confidence. That's not always available to people, but if they can have somebody who's had some success, who can be like, hey, I understand the struggle, let's start off here, and this is how you can repeat that process until you become confident and competent in yourself. So I would say that's my two main pieces of advice. Find a coach or a mentor, and really imagine and envision what this can do for you in the future.
Yeah. Interesting you say climb the mountain. The coach I have who talks about the fact that you are on a mountain of value. Daniel Priestley talks about this. He says, you are on a mountain of value, and what tends to happen is you stood on it and you look across at the other mountain and go, oh, well, I want to be over there. If you look down, you've actually already done a ton of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So actually looking down and going, actually, yeah, I have got a load of things that I can legit talk about because I'm here now, you know? So using that mountain analogy, I'd kind of add that in. And every single person, everyone on your team, even quite a new SDR, is doing something. If they've had days calling, right, they're already a little bit up a mountain with stuff that they can say.
Like, something that they know is going to resonate with somebody else, even if it's just one person. It's not. It's people who are doing that same thing day in, day out. They might want a little bit of respite or to understand that somebody's on this journey as well. It's not that easy. And I think that's where people being candid online really helps, rather than the success porn that we see all the time. Like, people don't care if you're making £6 billion a day. Like, they care if you've had some success, but actually it was a struggle getting there, and this is the learnings that we got from it. That connects with people more because it's more real.
Yeah. Yeah, because what you also said is, so focus on what you enjoy. So I'm reading this stuff. I'm sat scrolling. Oh my God, I've just spent half an hour on TikTok or Facebook or whatever. I'm reading these things. But what you said after that, how it makes you feel. Now, if you can start creating content that's triggering feeling, now you're really producing some great stuff. So again, what you're saying is, well, that made me feel like that. So if I do something similar, it's probably going to make somebody else feel similar. So just use what's happening to you, really, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
actually, content creation is so fun, and I did not realize, because at the start I thought, this is tedious, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to say. And then I found things that brought me joy and made me happy. I love creating videos. I like creating funny videos with my colleagues. I love editing on Canva and making fun images. So when you've actually found something that you enjoy, it makes it so much easier, because I'm like, I can't believe that this is part of my job. It's so fun.
I'm laughing about when it brought you joy and it's a lot of fun because you make them with your colleagues. There's one in particular who you make dance, and I'm not sure that he has that much joy doing that. And that's why it's so funny. But he probably does.
It does. It does. Honestly, everybody says that. Oh, I bet Nia forced them to do that TikTok dance. I'm like, I've never seen anyone more keen.
As he sending emails, when are we doing the next one? When's the next dance?
Yeah.
But that works, doesn't it? Considering the people that know him, or even as it comes across, he looks a little bit kind of like, oh, I don't really want to do this, which is why it's so cool. Um, oh, I love that. I love that. Have fun doing it. Yeah, if it becomes a drag, it's going to come across as a drag, isn't it? And then look,
100%.
yeah, you systemize stuff and you have ways of working it and whatever. But while you're enjoying it, there's almost like not enough days to produce stuff. And by that I
Yeah.
mean it's kind of, you can only really pop out, certainly LinkedIn, like one thing a day. I guess. Do you do more than that?
I do one a day, but sometimes I do more. It just depends on what crops up. But I think consistency over constant, because when somebody's constantly posting, I'm just saying, have a rest. I'm sure you've got something else to do with your day other than putting
Yeah,
out these posts, but absolutely start with consistency and set yourself a goal. I think that's probably another piece of advice that I missed off. Like, if
yeah,
you don't have a goal, then it becomes a wish rather than a goal. That's to quote Steve Myers, one of our coaches. You
yeah,
need to have these set down so that you can keep yourself accountable. Otherwise, if you just like, I want to start creating content, okay, cool, but when are you going to start posting by? How many are you going to do? What is the target?
yeah. Steve's a good lad. Guest on here before.
He's
But I don't think he's your social selling coach. Something
not.
makes me think that might not be him.
He's not, but he's a
Who's your
great
social selling
volunteer.
coach? I have a strong inclination I know who it is.
Who do
You
you
don't want
think?
to you don't want to share, do you?
Oh,
No,
no
he's
gatekeeping
mine.
here. We couldn't possibly have this conversation without talking about Tom Boston. Like, he is an absolute force. I've been really privileged to have known him for a probably since like the start of my career. We were on a SDR training workshop together, and that's how we met. And then the universe brought us together, and we've been creating content together for a couple of years now. And it's just so fun, and I learn so much from him all the time. Like, he is a marketer at heart. And you've just got to follow him. Like, it's just amazing.
We'll give him a cheeky little tag in this to boost the.
Not that
No,
he needs
Tom's
us.
a great guy. Great guy. He really is very clever in the stuff he does. Um. Oh look, yeah, this is very cool. So, any sort of final parting shots, parting bits of advice? I'll ask where we can get in contact with you in a minute. But probably fairly
Mhm.
obvious. But any kind of last little piece of advice? Somebody that listening to this, they're thinking, I do want to get started. I can see the benefits of it. You've given me a little bit more confidence. What last little nudge can we give them?
So I would say to anybody who's on the cusp, who's thinking, do you know what it is? I think I want to get started. I don't know where and I don't know when. That's what you've got to start with. Like I said, set yourself a goal, follow the people who bring you joy, take inspiration from their posts and anything that's going to help you to get to where you need to be. And then start easy. Start a couple of times a week and build up from there, but keep reflecting. If you can see one post that's done slightly better than another, what did you do differently, and create 10 more like that? And that's how you're going to build. It's a gradual process. And then before you know it, you'll be 6 years deep looking back at a video that you did and think, I can't believe I was ever shy.
Yeah. Oh, that's cracking. That's cracking. If anybody is listening and they are on the cusp and they're going to take action as a result of this, do it and let us know. Get in contact. I mean, certainly with me via LinkedIn. Nia, best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn as well. I am Nia Hollywood House on LinkedIn, or you can catch me on my email, nia@mysalescoach.com. But I love to hear the success stories. That's why we do the jobs that we do, isn't it? Hoping that even one person listens to this and gets some inspiration to make a change.
Get in touch. Yeah, ping us a little note. Say, look, this is my first post. This is something I'm doing, or I'm thinking about doing this. You know, we're there to support. You know, I love success stories too. Absolutely do. I guess that's why we do the My Sales Coach thing. Selfish, isn't it? We're surrounded by success. We work with people who get a lot of good stuff from working with us. So I'll pop a little link to my sales coach too in the show notes.
Fab.
Awesome. Nia, thank you so much for coming on and sharing that. I do think people will be inspired by this. I really hope so. Massively appreciate your time in coming and sharing it.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been an absolute joy as always.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the Collaborative Selling Scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.